Alright, it's time to make candles.
These are the three varieties of candle we're going to make. Beehive, Skep, the classic votive, and you've got the 10-inch taper right there. Most impressive of the candles. So there it is, and now we're going to show you how to make them.
So our first step when we're making a candle is you want to have the molds. We're going to use these silicone molds here. If you want to, you can buy a spray. It makes it release better. Since these are pretty new, we're going to go without it. And I would recommend you get one of these. This is a little
wicking needle.
Wicking needle, thank you. My lovely assistant helping me out. So I'm just going to take the wick, put it through here, and we're going to do the taper mold. So it's a long one. You just stick it all the way through. At the very end there's a tiny little hole. You can see the needle's coming through, and we're just going to feed it the rest of the way through. Or we're going to die trying. Alright, and it should come through with the wick on it. Alright, so now we want to leave about 1 inch or so up on the top. That's going to be the top of the candle, the tip of the candle. So leave a little bit up top. And then the bottom here, we don't want this to fall through, and we want it to be sort of straight up and down. So what I'm going to do is stick the mold in this jar for pouring the wax. That way it stays pretty upright. I'm going to take a toothpick, I'm going to put it across the top. I'm going to take this and just very gently loop it over, and I'm just going to tape it to the side of this with a little piece of tape. So there's the top of this mold. There you can see it from the side. Alright, so now we're just going to repeat this process with the other molds. And I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. Same thing we did with the last one, only this time instead of a toothpick, I'm going to use an old chopstick. Alright, and then just give it a gentle tug down below till it's taut. Alright, so we've got our candle molds all set, the wicks all ready to go. We have beeswax that's been sitting in the basement now, accumulating for years. Now we just need to clean some wax and pour it into the molds. And for that, we're going to have to go down into the basement. So let's take this show on the road. This is a picture of one of my honeybees, and if you look closely you can see the tiny little wax flakes. They're like whitish flakes hanging off of the underside, coming out from between the different abdominal segments. So the bees will take this wax, chew it up, and then use it to make that honeycomb that they store the honey in, the pollen in, raise baby bees in. Sometimes they put honeycomb where it makes a real mess. Sometimes it just gets old and you need to replace it with new comb. And that's where, as a beekeeper, your job is to go through and scrape out anything that needs to be removed. When you first take your wax out of a beehive, it might look like that. Might have bee pieces in it, might have all kinds of stuff in it, nasty, dark stuff. So I put it in a solar melter. By the time it comes out, it's going to look kind of like this. Ta-da! You can see it still has some honey residue, bee parts, but for the most part that's pretty clean. Got this little Presto kitchen kettle deep fryer that my friends the coons modified a little bit. All they did was drill a hole in the bottom, put a little hardware on it, a little valve and a spout, and now we've turned this into quite the wax melter. So I've got things set up in the basement so as not to make a mess in the kitchen, and I'd recommend just a plastic painter's drop cloth. It's perfect for the wax because if the wax gets on it, it hardens and you can peel it right off. I'm going to put the temperature on this right about 200 or so degrees. Pour in about 1.5 inches or so of water on the bottom, and now I'm going to float the wax in there. So I'm going to put some chunks in. Top came out bad, so I'm just going to recycle that, just toss that in. Now we just have to wait till that melts, and once it melts, any sort of dirt and debris, leftover honey residue should sink to the bottom with the water,
and the wax should float to the top. It does not take very long for this to start to melt. Almost gone. Alright, so that's pretty much all melted. You can see it's pretty uniform color. Just a couple little specks on top. I think that's a little ant floating right in the center. And then maybe some other little chunks of debris that'll get filtered out in a second. Alright, so I'm going to strain off the water first into this pitcher, and then I'm going to strain the wax once it starts to come out through here. This is just a little juice bag that I tore a hole in by accident, so I'm using it to filter out any last debris. We've opened the valve here, and really hot water's coming out. Let all the water come out first because it's got all the dirt in it. There's the filtered wax. So after they have been in the mold for about 4 or 5 hours, they should be plenty hard. Then we're going to take the tape off. We're going to pull the wicks up. This is the bottom, so that will end up cutting off anyway. Take this chopstick that we have across the top, or popsicle stick, or whatever you used, and just pop it off like that. Then we're going to take these rubber bands off the side. We just had that just so we didn't get any wax leaking out. It opens up a little bit, and you just wiggle them. Right, so keep pulling them out. There we go. Ta-da! There it is. Another little beehive. Now pay attention. What we're going to do now is take the bottom, cut that off. Extra wick, we're not going to use that. And then we're going to melt this flat on the pan downstairs. Or the bottom's a little bit uneven, so I'm just going to take that and just put it very gently against the bottom of this kettle, and it's going to melt that extra wax off. And so with just a couple of candle molds you can make a huge variety of different candles, and you're set for every Christmas, every birthday, every holiday. Anytime you need a gift to bring to somebody's house, you've got it.